Now I can start streaming. There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and as Byron just corrected me before we went on, and others,
Yes.
everybody out there on YouTube land, welcome once again to Nerd Week Live here on YouTube, brought to you by the folks from Nerd Caliber. The folks from Nerd Caliber tonight are myself, Rodney Brown, editor-in-chief at Nerd Caliber, and first-person shooter, cosplay photographer on the Facebooks, Burley _adopter, tech journalist on the Twitters and stuff. Joining me tonight, the recently shorn, joining the club of the Smoothheads, is, introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, denizens of the internet. Byron McNeil, aka Byron D0, on the various facets of the interwebs, and I am a contributing writer and content creator for Nerd Caliber. I even post my own indie game reviews on YouTube. I got a little podcast called the Weeb Trash Can Podcast, which you should totally check out. If you want to find out more, just look up Byron D0. You'll find a lot of stuff on the interwebs with my name on it.
He's a content machine, and we've already got people on the chats. Miriam, welcome. Waifu Pennywise, welcome back. Johan, welcome. Emmy, welcome. And there we go. All right, that's it so far that are chatting anyway. And welcome anybody who is lurking. We don't mind lurkers. We'd like to have you chat, but lurk away. Go right ahead. Enjoy.
We don't bite.
We don't bite. Have fun. All right. First piece of news, and this is kind of sad for me as an old school comic guy. That is a picture of the comic artist, writer, editor, colorist, letterer, gosh, what hasn't he done? Ernie Colon, who passed away recently. The news just sort of came out of his family late last week that he had passed away on Friday. And that's very sad news. I'm going to show you one of the things he's really most well known for, and that is DC Comics Amethyst. Way back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Princess Amethyst?
Princess Amethyst. And as you can tell sort of by this artwork, he really got his... Emmy, yeah. Cecilia, welcome to the show. Waifu, he's not really Stan Lee in that he wasn't that influential. And Stan certainly wasn't an artist. But he did do some work that was... like creating Princess Amethyst and drawing that comic for quite a while, that was pretty influential for further down the road in the DC universe. He did stuff for Marvel as well, but he was... I first noticed him when he was one of the regular artists in the sort of horror fantasy mags, like Creepy and Eerie and Weird Tales and so on, back in the late 60s and early 70s. And you can kind of get that feel with the sort of sword and sorcery feel of that artwork that's up there on your screen of Princess Amethyst. So, you know, sad news for his family, of course. Sad news for the comics community in general who remember him.
Absolutely.
And definitely sad news for me, who was I was a big fan, particularly of his fantasy / horror work, but even of his straight up comic book stuff.
I read a good amount of Princess Amethyst and like not too far back. But wow, that really sucks. I mean, my heart goes out to his family.
Yeah, it's definitely sad news. But sadly, it happens to those of us who age.
Yep. His work was definitely ahead of its time.
Yes, but also was of his time. He was part of that wave of sort of Asian, mostly Filipino artists and creators that came in the late 60s and 70s, mostly through the sort of horror and fantasy mags, and then into comics. Rudy Nebres and people like that are just wonderful work. I mean, really, really super talented creators. Anyway, moving on to our next topic. Our next topic is not really technically that. It is about Dune. It's about the new Denis Villeneuve Dune that's being made. And that is, of course, an image from the 1980s Dune movie that David Lynch made, which is worth a watch, as bizarre and weird as it is. Just
Yes.
because you got Sting. Now, how can you not love that? Um, December, December 2020, not this coming December, but December 2020, December 18th is when we get to see the movie. They kicked it forward a month. It was originally planned to be November 18th. Waifu Pennywise, Dune is almost a cult, but what Dune
Yeah.
is a book that's the first in a series of science fiction books, and it would take way too long to explain exactly what they are and how awesome they are.
It's head trippy.
It's head trippy. It's space opera set 10,000 years in the future in the middle of a galactic empire. It's very political, very religious. It's just amazing. Fantastic
Let
writing.
the spice flow.
Let the spice flow. The spice must flow. Um, it's worth looking up and checking it out. It's an amazing book. I read my first copy until it literally fell apart in my hands. I don't know how many times I actually read
So,
that thing.
so do you think that the bump forward is to fill in the slot left by the Star Wars franchise?
It might be. This article on The Verge says specifically that, or that it will take up that slot, where the Star Wars franchise is now obviously skipping over to every alternate year, but not starting until 2021.
Which is okay, which is fine by me.
Yep, yep. And yeah, Emmy, it's kind of like a way more serious Star Wars. That's a good call. Emmy says that reminds me of Star Wars. Um, it's like that in that it's so far in the future. It's kind of science fiction fantasy, but it's also very serious, very political, very religious. It's a very interesting story.
Yeah, there's like a caste system and everything in
Oh yeah,
this. Yes.
yeah, very. Yeah, I don't want to go into it. Everybody knows who's listened to this knows that I am a Dune nut, and
Yeah.
calls me a Dune fanboy, and it's entirely 100% true. But that's not the only Dune news. In conjunction with that, and we've talked about some of the other things, like there's going to be a TV series um, that's looking at the Bene Gesserit, one of the religious groups, for those of you who don't know what this is. There's a Dune board game that is being brought back to life, probably in conjunction with the movie because it's so popular. The board game publisher called Gale Force 9. They finally settled a ton of licensing problems, undoubtedly with the Frank Herbert estate and other things. Oh, that was a little weird. So, pardon me, folks, for my delay, but it looked like my image of Dune just popped in after about 2.5 minutes of talking about it. Maybe it was just on my end that it didn't show up, because it sounds like you guys have seen it or knew what we were talking
Yeah.
about. Anyway, that board game is going to be coming out, and if you're a board game type person, this game first came out in 1979, published by Avalon Hill, the classic Avalon Hill publishers, and then just went into licensing hell for decades. It's coming out. You'll be able to play the classic game. It doesn't say in this article exactly when it's going to be released. You can pre-order it now. Oh, quite possibly last weekend of this month or last week of this month.
Oh wow.
So
Now, is it a pretty detailed set?
I honestly have not played the game. It looks fairly detailed in that it looks like you've got an awful lot of character types you can play. I don't know for sure that you play as Paul. No, you did. You play as Paul, as Baron Harkonnen, as the Emperor, and I would assume each one of you has a different role in the game, and so on.
Yep. No.
But anyway, that's enough Dune news because I know people think I harp too much on Dune news, and I do.
You like what
Um,
you like.
I like what I like. And we're going back to another thing that I like, although I'm not sure that I like this news. So that is an image that just popped up on your screen there of David Bowie as Thomas Newton from The Man Who Fell to Earth, the classic science fiction film. And the news is they are making a TV series about The Man Who Fell to Earth. It's going to be on CBS All Access, right there with Star Trek Discovery and Picard.
Hmm.
But it's not going to be about Thomas Jane Newton, which is Bowie's character. It's going to be about another person, and I don't know how much I want to give away if you haven't seen the movie, but let's just say he's putting in a contact there with tweezers, and I don't know why you would do that. Because he's not from around here, finger quotes, if you get the drift. In the movie, he is a business tycoon. I gather from what I'm reading here, he's going to be more of a tech tycoon, or the other character who is not going to be Thomas Jane Newton, but comes from where Thomas Jane Newton comes from. Hint, hint. And is becomes a technology genius tycoon, and so on. So the movie was. This was ahead of its time, Byron. When you get, I don't know if have you seen.
I have not. There's so much David Bowie content that has passed me by that I'm still trying to catch up on to this day.
I think there should be a watch party for every movie that David Bowie has ever been in, including Yellowbeard. He's got a cameo in Yellowbeard that is just hilarious. Because the whole movie's hilarious anyway. But this movie is brilliant. It's super weird. I mean, we're talking like 1970s type concept of aliens. Super weird. There's a sex scene that involves him exuding an enormous amount of slug-like slime, and it's pretty freaking bizarre.
Wow.
Oh yeah. It's
the practical effect budget for that must have been amazing.
Yeah. I don't even. We don't even want to get into what the practical effects were there. But it's worth watching, and so I'm a little worried about this adaptation. Now, granted, it's Alex Kurtzman, who's a good writer and producer, so we'll see. But coming up on CBS All Access, they're starting writing in September, which means this is not going to be anything that we're going to see anytime soon. I'm guessing a 2021 premiere.
It'll be worth the wait.
I hope so. I mean, really, fingers crossed, because it's such a really great concept. And the original movie is so fantastic. Speaking of movies, we have confirmation of Venom 2 and confirmation of the director. And this is pretty fantastic, I think, although I've seen a lot of people...
You might say it's precious.
It's precious. Andy Serkis, the...
You're welcome.
Voice actor, thank you. That was very well done. The voice actor and mocap actor of Gollum is going to be directing the Venom sequel. Going to be starring Tom Hardy again as Eddie Brock.
Maybe Woody Harrelson, I hope.
Spoiler-ish. Let's kind of not... let's avoid that one. But, okay. Yeah, hopefully Woody Harrelson. And they haven't identified specifically who else. But Serkis has actually directed a couple of things. He directed the Mowgli, the Jungle Book movie that came out last year, which was not the Disney-friendly, funny one that came out a couple of years ago and was directed by Jon Favreau. This was the super dark one, violent one that came out last year, and it was an adaptation. Netflix. Yeah, it was an adaptation of the Kipling book, not a remake of the Disney movie, which is what The Jungle Book was. Um, but he also directed his first directorial movie was directorial effort was a movie called Breathe, which was a romance about a family facing a terminal disease. So, and it got pretty good reviews. So I think Serkis can do this pretty well. And he certainly knows how to work motion capture, which is obviously what Venom is.
Yep.
So, fingers crossed that this will come out pretty good. It isn't sure when this is going to come out, but Sony has recently slotted in a, quote, untitled Marvel sequel for October 2020. That would be pretty fast to turn around the next Spider-Man movie.
Well, I mean, and that worked. It worked so well for Jim and the Holograms. Getting done under a year.
Yeah, no, I don't think. But no, it does seem like a fairly short timeline if that is in fact the one that they're talking about. If that's the date. So let's hope that. Let's hope that this isn't the date, that it's not October 2020, because that's a little more than a year away, and that would be tough to do a very high special effects budget movie in that turnaround time.
Indeed.
All right, the next piece that we have up here, if I can get back to it where I just went past it, Lisa, Mangle and Barry, Lisa and or Barry? Lisa, we'll start with that because that's the first name that shows up. Hello back. So that picture right up there is a bunch of people. In the middle, of course, is Queen Latifah. On the left is the person whose name I'm not even going to try, is the voice actor for Moana.
I think it's Alani Carvalho.
Auli Cavaro. And
Okay.
there's a glottal stop like if you're actually Hawaiian, you said Hawaii. So there's one of those stops in between the two eyes. So I'm going to say Aulii. Maybe? I'm probably butchering it. Anyway, yes, Carvalho. The reason that's up there is that the news came out a little while ago that Queen Latifah was going to be playing Ursula in The Little Mermaid, and that's awesome, and it's actually true, except it's not what everybody thinks it is. It is not the upcoming Little Mermaid live action finger quotes film that Disney's making. As it turns out, ABC is going to be taking a lesson from Fox and doing a live stage musical presentation of the musical Little Mermaid live on TV. And Carvalho is going to be playing Ariel, which is wonderful because that is yet another ethnic casting,
Yes.
as opposed to a redheaded white girl. Pardon me. And that is what Queen Latifah is going to be playing Ursula in.
Yes. And her voice was made for this role, I swear.
Yeah. If you've watched Chicago, that's almost like transfer casting. I mean, it's like literally make her a little purple and you're done.
Or the Hairspray movie, the second Hairspray movie.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yes, she played Motormouth Mabel.
Yep. So that is sort of a Little Mermaid disambiguation there, so that people could be clear of exactly what's going on.
But Rodney, who is the gentleman on the right? Who is he playing?
That is Shaggy. I should have mentioned this before. And he is, of course, playing the crab Sebastian.
Yes.
Which is... I don't know who actually did the voice in the movie, but it should have been Shaggy.
Wright. Samuel Wright. Samuel
Wright. It should have been Shaggy because it sounds so much like Shaggy.
Oh, yes.
It's perfect. And I can't wait to hear him sing the song.
Yes.
Under the Sea. I'm looking to see when this is going to happen, folks. If you're at all interested in it. It is November 5th. It will go live on ABC November 5th.
I'm definitely gonna check it out because if anyone knows me really well, I love musicals,
This
and
is
I do
true.
like me some Disney, and I like me some Disney. So
And some of these things have been absolutely fantastic. The Jesus Christ Superstar live with John Legend was just amazing.
The
Uh,
Wiz was equally amazing.
I missed that one. The Grease, as much as I hate the story, their
Mm.
performances and the dancing was
Oh,
fantastic.
absolutely. I'm totally with you on that. I was
Emmy had a second. Emmy had a question. How many people run the channel? So the founder of Nerd Caliber, Manny, and I are the owners. We have a management group that has another couple of people, and our team is a couple of dozen spread out over the country.
yeah.
But the actual running of the channel is mostly Manny actually, and myself. Um, Lisa, fingers crossed, we're gonna have some news about Bonnie. It's um, it's taken some time to talk this stuff out, but we're trying hard. We know you love your Bonnie. We know you folks love Bonnie the Bunny, and we're working hard on getting that to happen. But anyway, our next piece of news is the good old Master Chief himself. And the news is, and this is probably going to upset quite a few people, although you kind of knew it was going to happen, that in the upcoming series, you're going to get to see the Master Chief's face. Maybe not all the time, maybe not even very much, but they're not going to hire Pablo Schreiber and not have him show his face. That's really rare, particularly for a series. The fact that Carl Urban did it as Dredd in the movie Dredd, that he never once took off his helmet, is shocking in Hollywood. Uh,
Yeah, when you look at movies like the Raimi trilogy of Spider-Man movies, that's kind of the standard fare. You want to, you're paying to see this face. You want to see it as much as possible.
yep, yep. Um, oh, you know what? This is actually a good way to sort of segue. Let me bring that back up. So this is going to happen on Showtime. It's going to be October 2021. Um, and Showtime. So just today, and I didn't bring up any artwork for it, so I'm glad that this is a Showtime thing because it works. CBS and Viacom announced that they were merging back together as a single entity after being apart for 16 years, 13 years, 2006, 13 years. And what that does is it gives the now Viacom CBS, and Viacom going to be the majority owner. Every shareholder gets 59.59 shares, so Viacom will own 59% of the company. They get Showtime. So Viacom properties are Showtime, Paramount Pictures, MTV, and all of that is going to merge together with everything that CBS has, which means that every property that's Star Trek, that is based on Star Trek, is now under this single umbrella. So um, not only can CBS All Access show the Next Generation movies, it can now show all the original movies. It can show everything Paramount did. It will, and even though Showtime has its own sort of over-the-top service, streaming service, you can bet that CBS All Access is going to get access to some of this stuff like Showtime. So you will probably be able to see this Halo show on Showtime, and then maybe a day, maybe a week removed, it will probably appear on CBS All Access as well.
I was gonna say, I know that Showtime's been doing like deals with like Hulu and such to show some, and Amazon, I think, to show some of their content on those sites and on those apps. So it wouldn't be surprising if CBS follows suit, or if they merge CBS and Showtime to make like their own like mega streaming service, like
That
HBO's doing.
that is going to be more likely. So HBO got Warner Brothers, so it's now Warner Brothers streaming service is called HBO Max. It's going to be HBO and Warner Brothers products. DCU is under that, and I can't believe I forgot that Young Justice Outsiders started up again in late July. I've
Yeah.
been missing episodes. I'm trying to catch up.
Well, they've been showing episodes weekly, so you're
Right.
not. Yes.
It wasn't a binge thing, so I didn't miss it all. Anyway, um, so now you've got CBS, Showtime, Paramount Pictures, a movie studio, and Viacom, which is actually National Amusements. So any of the theaters that are out there, the movie theaters that are owned by National Amusements, are part of this whole enterprise as well.
There aren't many of them. There aren't many of them around my area.
Yeah, it's not that big a chain anymore. They've sold a lot of them because their interests had moved more into like the Showtimes and so on. But I think you're right. I think you're going to see this turn into a larger streaming platform like the Disney Marvel Star Wars, like the HBO Warner Brothers DC, and now like Showtime, CBS, MTV, although I'm not really sure what that's going to be about it.
Maybe they'll show music videos on that for a change.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, gonna move all the content off to the other streaming service that isn't music and go back to music videos. Old man yells at cloud. Yeah. Anyway, so the news about the Halo stuff is Pablo Schreiber. You're gonna see his face occasionally. I'm fine with that. Yeah, big deal. So you don't see it in the video games. That's cool. And our next topic is I've rearranged all of my desktop and now I can't get to my in timely fashion switches. There we go. So these pretty people are not up there just because they're pretty people. This is the cast or the latest cast announcements of the Stand, the short run series that is also being done on CBS All Access. They call them limited event series now, I guess. So since a series,
back in my day, they used to call them miniseries.
Miniseries back when it was Roots and and Shogun and stuff like that. Yes, sir. Anyway, I'm guessing because some series nowadays are called a full series and they're only 8 or 10 episodes. My guess is this is going to be like a 4 episode or 6 episode, limited event. Sort of like the Stand series was actually back in the day on broadcast.
Oh man, I'm definitely dating myself talking about the original series.
Oh yeah.
That was back when Rob Lowe was like riding on the coattails of his youth, of his former youth, and
or also trying to portray that he can actually do more serious stuff, and he did.
Oh yeah.
And I think he did a pretty good job of portraying a deaf character. Of course, nowadays that would be somebody who was actually deaf, because casting people are waking up to the fact that you should do that.
And here's a fun bit of trivia: the guy that played Moon is who also played Dauber and Coach.
Yep.
Is the voice of Patrick Star.
I didn't know that. That is wonderful trivia. Jim? He's got some sort of very Minnesotan, Norwegian-sounding last name, and I can't remember what it is. But yeah, he's very, very funny actor. Did a very non-funny, very dramatic role as the
mentally challenged.
Mentally challenged. Thank you. That's the best way to put it. Character. That series was fantastic. It made me fall in love with Molly Ringwald all over again.
Oh, yes.
This series has Amber Heard. Ouch.
Yeah.
Amber Heard brings a lot of baggage with her because of the whole Johnny Depp ongoing divorce abuse case. Everybody's accusing everybody back and forth. She was horrible at a level that is shocking to describe, in my opinion anyway, in Aquaman. Um, like, you know,
Agree to disagree.
good role, good acting, good acting, good acting, even as awful as some of the dialogue was all the way around. And then you get to Amber Heard, it's like, hi, I'm in a high school play. Oh, it like literally you'd go and fall off a cliff, and then you try to come back and fall off a cliff every time she opened her mouth. Just, and she's not awful. She's been in stuff that I really like. So
All the boys like Mandy Lane.
I don't know that one.
We'll have to have a horror movie night sometime.
All right, cool. Anyway, so Stephen King is actually very well involved in this. So it's not going to be somebody ruining his adaptation. And in fact, he is going to write a brand new last chapter just for this series.
Oh, jeez. I just had flashbacks of Maximum Overdrive.
Oh God, please no. Yeah, they've made an awful lot of garbage movies out of his.
But he was at the helm for that one too.
I don't know if he was at the. He may have been deeply involved. And again, some of the stuff he's been involved in have been, super cheesy. Like the horror anthology he did, Creep Zone. No, not Creep Zone. Something Zone. What was it? Something like Creep Zone, something like that. He is, he's done some bad stuff when he's been involved. I don't think this is going to be the case here, or at least fingers crossed, because I love that book. I really liked the previous series.
I did too.
Good, strong stuff.
Did a lot of fan art for that when I was in school.
Oh, cool.
I like Randall Flagg.
The Randall Flagg, they did a pretty good job as a scary Randall Flagg. He wasn't quite as scary as he was in the book, but that's really tough to do. And Matt Frewer as Trash Can Man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. Yeah, Max Headroom as Trash Can Man. That was primo.
And Laura San Giacomo.
Yes.
Yes, she was excellent in that one.
Honestly, I can see Amber Heard in that role, although I was
thinking it too, actually.
I think she's probably going to be the Molly Ringwald role, which would be kind of a strain.
And we all know that James Marsters is going to be Stu.
Yes. I would assume so. Yeah, that would make sense. And if you haven't read the book or seen the series, you don't know any of these people who we're talking about. Stu is sort of the main character, although it's a really big ensemble cast. And everybody kind of has their moments, like a lot of moments. So, it'd be interesting to see where the rest of the casting goes. Like, I don't think they've named who Randall Flagg is. And that's going to be the key casting. He's the bad guy. He is the bad guy.
Get Matthew McConaughey to do him.
Oh, God, yes, please.
Hey, yes. For all my problems with the Dark Tower movie, his acting was not one of them. He did a decent job with what he was given.
And given the interconnectedness of the Stephen King universe, it would actually make sense. But anyway, moving on to our next universe. That is, of course, the DC universe. And the new trailer for the second season of Titans dropped a little more than a week ago because, a lot of this stuff is the things we didn't get to last week when Comcast completely screwed us over. And we didn't actually have a show last week. Oh no, Lisa, your phone's on 5%. Plug that thing in or bye, have a good evening. Either way. There you go. Put it in its thing. I think they call it a cradle. So that image that's up there is the Titans in costume.
Pinch me, I must be dreaming.
And I think the way they're describing it is that this is the current Titans. I don't think so. I think this is a flashback to the original Titans lineup because you've got Hawk, Dove, you've got Wonder Girl.
And what looks like Aqualad?
Yes. That is Aqualad. Um, and none of these people, other than a wonderful appearance by Wonder Girl, by Donna, and of course the original Robin, are in the current Titans storyline as a team member. Hawk and Dove are in the story, and they're in the story wonderfully, but you almost never see them in costume. They are essentially retired. Um, you don't see Jason Todd, who is also in the storyline. You don't see Beast Boy, and most importantly, you don't see Raven or Starfire. So I'm assuming this is the early original lineup, because they make it very clear that Robin is rebooting the Titans with Raven and Starfire, and there's a couple of times in the trailer they mention like Titans 2.0, or what are we going to call ourselves, or things like that. But you get to see for the first time Ian Glenn as Bruce Wayne, and he is perfect. You know, Jorah Mormont, he's no longer dead. He doesn't have the grayscale. He's Bruce Wayne. And you get to see, the first time you get to see other characters. And at the very, very end, you get to see who's clearly going to be the big bad guy for the next season. You get to see Esai Morales as Deathstroke.
Oh yes. Ooh, I had no idea that they had casted him.
Yes, yes, Esai Morales.
I could totally see him like in and out of costume as Slade Wilson.
Yep. He's perfect. He was wonderful in the Battlestar Galactica, the spin-off of the Battlestar Galactica reboot. That was I can't think of the name of it. It was the name of the planet that they were on. Where
Gattaca?
the
No, I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, not Gattaca, but it's something like that. Yeah. Apologies for not remembering that or having it looked up. But he was fantastic in that. Really wonderful, nuanced character as the young Admiral Adama's father. A very conflicted lawyer who had ties to a mob that was tied to his racial identity. A just really wonderful storyline. And if you didn't see that, sadly the series never made it past 2 seasons, but it was worth watching. Esai Morales is not, if you're old enough like me, not the kid that went up against Sean Penn in whatever the heck that movie was, Gangs or something like that.
Colors.
Colors. No, it was before Colors. He played a cop in Colors. Yeah, I can't remember what it was now. Something Boys, something like that. Anyway, he is a really, really solid adult actor at this point. So Lisa, that message isn't showing up for some reason. I don't know why. I guess YouTube doesn't like farting. But sure, I'll let that one go. There you go. Ooh, that's disgusting. Yes, your brother farted in your face. That's sad.
Yes, it's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. All right. Anyway, Titan Season 2 comes up the very end of September, I believe. I don't think we even have to wait until October like we did last year. And if it will load on my screen, I will find out. Oh, holy crap. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks away, September 6th.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So I'm very keen on that. And we're going to stick to DC. So a whole bunch of news came out this last week, again, a little more than a week ago. Gotcha, welcome to the show. And the first thing, it's all about the upcoming CW crossover for all of its DC shows called Crisis on Infinite Earths. And finally, we can say it's for all of its DC shows because Black Lightning is going to be in it.
Woo! I'm excited for that.
I am very excited for that, too. For a couple of years, they've made it, I'm going to say clear that he's not part of the universe. They have not made it clear at all that he's part of the CW universe. There's been zero mention of any of the other superheroes on his show, and there's been zero mention of Black Lightning on any of the other shows. But finally, they are going to make it clear that this is all part of the connected DC universe, and Black Lightning is going to be in that crossover. Now, it's Crisis on Infinite Earths. Maybe he is in a different dimension.
Different Earth.
Yeah,
why not?
Yep. He could be Earth 2, Earth 7, Earth 23, whatever. I can't remember whatever their numbers are. Unlike Marvel, where, standard continuity is Earth 616, which I love. The fact that it's like sort of in the middle. What's everything before that? But that's not all. That's not the absolute best news, although it's pretty close. And frankly, I think it's pretty close to the best news because it doesn't make any sense for them to keep that character out of the standard continuity for any reason except some executive level decision that thought that the fans of the Flash and Arrow and whatever might be a little uncomfortable with a superpowered black dude as a main character. I can't think of any other reason why they would do that. It's just stupid. And I don't know that's the case, but I'm saying.
Maybe they just wanted him to stay on his own and not be right on the coattails of both shows.
That could be. That would be nice. I don't buy it. But anyway. The next bit of news that came out right after that is that the best Batman ever.
Yes.
Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman in Batman the Animated Series and a whole bunch of other stuff after that, and that's why you've got the image from Batman the Animated Series up there,
Hallelujah!
is going to be in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Probably, I haven't seen this actually confirmed by CW or anybody else, but everybody's reporting it as actual fact. Probably playing Bruce Wayne from one of the Infinite Earths, maybe even the one that Batwoman is in.
That would be awesome. So awesome.
That would be so cool. And just in case you don't know what Kevin Conroy looks like, because you're going to see his face, that's Kevin Conroy from a convention. He's a very tall individual. Almost, in a way, too tall and slender to be, in most people's minds, Bruce Wayne, but I'm sure they can bulk him up with coats and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I think those are fantastic pieces of news. I was already looking forward to Crisis on Infinite Earths, because from the comic book, it's a pretty interesting storyline. It's going to mark the end of Arrow in the CW universe. The show. It looked like an awful lot of good, interesting stuff, and maybe even like the last crossover. It was the last time I saw Legends of Tomorrow, and it was one of the trippiest things I've ever seen in my life. That show doesn't give an F about anything. The writers will write whatever the hell they want. They went to a universe where they were all Muppets. It was just wild, and I'm hoping they'll do something like that again. But the big takeaway here is that Crisis on Infinite Earths, what it did in the comics and what it's probably going to do in the CW, is it collapsed all of the multiverse, all of the other Earths, into one timeline. Which allowed them to get rid of things like the fact that the Justice Society, with the Jay Garrick Flash, was in another universe, and that Jay Garrick Flash was part now of the new combined universes continuity. That he had always existed, in that universe. You're probably going to see that happen in the CW stuff, and that means John Wesley Shipp, the original Flash from the original TV series, will probably be around more as Jay Garrick than he has been.
Woohoo!
Yes. In addition to...
Wait, by the way, he looks good in that helmet.
He does look really good in that helmet. And I'm assuming he's also still going to play Barry's dad, which would be really interesting to have those two physical beings, different roles. Gotcha Wolf, see ya. Thanks for being in the chat. But it brings Supergirl into the same continuity as the rest of the CW. It'll bring Batwoman into the same continuity as the rest of the CW. And that just solves a lot of their problems.
Yes,
Which
I was getting tired of the whole. I was getting tired of the whole portal hopping excuse.
Yep. And then they've not really come up with any way for anybody except for the Flash's team to do it. And now with Vibe, he can kind of do it just, boom, done. He can create a portal as opposed to, Barry having to run like with the speed of light and, whatever, you use the Flash Force and, or the Speed Force and all the other stuff that he's had to do. It's been too easy for them. And God, please let it mean that they've stopped all of the Harrison Wells characters.
Please.
Settle on one. Make it one of the good ones, not, Tom, what's his name, trying to pretend he's, British and Sherlock Holmes. Anyway.
Or has a Hispanic accent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know he's trying to stretch and they're giving him room to play and so on, and that's cool, but it's awful. Some of their decisions with that character are just hideous. Anyway, Crisis on Infinite Earths starts in December. I think the first one is Flash. Let's see if I can figure that timeline out, if they've got it in one of the articles. It runs through into January. There will be some, like the final Arrow one was going to be in January. So it's going to run through the entire month.
This will be exciting.
Yeah. I just saw it. Where'd it go? Supergirl will be the first one, Sunday, December 8th. Batwoman, Monday, December 9th. Flash, Tuesday, December 10th. And then they skip to mid-January for Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, back-to-back on Tuesday, January 14th. Which would be interesting. They're anchoring Legends of Tomorrow. I'm guessing it's not going to be a funny episode. I'm guessing it's going to be a very serious anchor that probably has something to do with Ollie dying, retiring. I mean, his series ends, so it'll be interesting to see where they go with it. Emmy, it's a good time to go draw, and I'm glad we've recharged your motivation because we are done. That's the end of our show. That was our last topic, folks. Plug for us, if you're going to be at Fan Expo Boston, the formerly named Boston Comic Con this weekend, we'll have our own booth all the way at the end of row 700, booth number 761. We'll also be shooting the red carpet stuff for the con, and so you'll see us all over the place. Please stop by, say hi, get photos, learn about the Cosplay and Photography Expo coming up next summer, our own event, and hopefully we'll see a whole bunch of you people there.